The Phantom Workforce, a guide to combating state-sponsored infiltration. The global shift to remote work has created a new, insidious threat. State-sponsored workers infiltrating companies to generate illicit revenue and steal intellectual property. A highly sophisticated campaign by North Korea is exploiting the vulnerabilities of remote hiring, placing fraudulent workers inside businesses ranging from startups to Fortune 500 corporations. This isn't just fraud. It's a national security issue, with the U.S. Department of Justice confirming these schemes are designed to evade sanctions and fund the North Korean regime's weapons programs. These operatives are not lone wolves. They are part of an industrialized deception campaign tracked by Microsoft as Jasper Sleet that has grown in scale and sophistication. Understanding their playbook is the first step to building a defense. Anatomy of a deception campaign. The North Korean infiltration strategy is a multi-stage operation designed to create the perfect phantom employee. Identity laundering. The process begins by stealing or renting the identities of real persons. Operatives then use AI tools to enhance their own photos and forge identity documents, creating polished, professional-looking resumes that are often free of the grammatical errors that once served as a red flag. Digital persona crafting. They build a believable digital footprint for these fake personas, creating profiles on professional networking sites and developer platforms to showcase fabricated portfolios. Evasion and impersonation. To hide their true locations in North Korea, China, or Russia, they use a layered infrastructure of VPNs and proxy services. During interviews, they frequently make excuses to keep their cameras off, and have been observed using voice-changing software. The Laptop Farm Network. A critical component is the network of U.S.-based facilitators who operate laptop farms. These individuals receive company-issued laptops, allowing the overseas operatives to remotely access them. This makes all their network traffic appear to originate from a legitimate IP address on a trusted company device, bypassing basic security controls. Once inside, these operatives pose a dual threat. They generate income for the DPRK and act as pre-positioned insider threats, capable of stealing priceless intellectual property, source code, and sensitive data. Fortifying the human perimeter, a new hiring framework. Defeating a threat that exploits human trust requires reinforcing the human-centric processes of hiring and onboarding. 1. Rethink the remote interview. The interview must evolve from a simple skills assessment into an identity verification event. Mandatory live video. A strict, non-negotiable policy requiring all interviews to be conducted over a live video feed is the first line of defense. Excuses about technical issues with a camera should be treated as a major red flag. Active on-camera ID check. Ask the candidate to hold their government-issued photo ID up to the camera for a live visual comparison. Proactive deepfake detection. Train interviewers to spot the signs of deepfakes. Ask the candidate to perform unpredictable actions like turning their head slowly to one side or briefly covering their face with their hand. Real-time deepfakes often struggle to render these movements accurately, which can cause visible distortions or artifacts. 2. High assurance onboarding. The onboarding process is the final and most critical gateway. It must create an unbreakable link between the digital persona and a legal physical identity. Automated digital identity proofing. Before granting any access, mandate that the candidate completes a verification process with a reputable third-party identity verification ID provider like Onfido, Verif, or Jumio. These services use AI to authenticate government-issued IDs and perform a biometric comparison between the ID photo and a live selfie, including a liveness check to prevent spoofing. Secure device provisioning. Ship company hardware exclusively to the verified home address established during the ID process. To disrupt interception, consider sending the laptop and critical credentials like a hardware security key separately. Implementing a zero-trust architecture for continuous verification. Robust hiring procedures are essential, but the long-term security of the organization depends on a technical architecture that assumes a breach is inevitable. This is the core principle of Zero Trust. Never trust, always verify. This model discards the outdated castle and moat approach, where anything inside the network is trusted. In a zero-trust architecture ZTA, every request to access a resource is treated as if it comes from an untrusted network and must be explicitly verified. Identity as the new perimeter. In a ZTA, security is built around identity, not network location. Access is granted based on a dynamic assessment of the user, their device health, and other contextual signals. This directly counters the North Korean tactic of using US-based laptop farms to appear trusted. Least privilege access. Users are granted only the minimum level of access required to do their job. This is critical for damage control. If a fraudulent worker is hired, their ability to move laterally across the network and access sensitive data is severely limited, containing the blast radius of the infiltration. Continuous monitoring. Trust is not a one-time event at login. A ZTA continuously monitors user and device behavior, looking for anomalies. If a user's risk score suddenly spikes, the system can automatically trigger a re-authentication challenge or revoke access entirely. The technology stack for Zero Trust. Major cloud providers offer the core building blocks for a ZTA. Microsoft. The ecosystem is centered on Microsoft Entra ID, formerly Azure AD. Conditional access acts as the policy engine, using signals like user risk, device compliance, and location to enforce access rules. Continuous access evaluation key takes this further by revoking access in near real time. If a critical event occurs, like a user's account being disabled or their IP address suddenly changing to an untrusted location. Google Cloud. Google's Bancorp model is the embodiment of Zero Trust. It uses cloud identity as the identity store and the identity-aware proxy IAP as the enforcement gateway. IAP sits in front of applications, verifying every user and device before allowing access, making applications invisible to the public internet. Amazon Web Services Oz. Security is managed through Oz EM Identity Center, which centralizes access management across multiple Oz accounts. It relies heavily on temporary credentials and permission sets to enforce least privilege, just-in-time access, a core tenet of Zero Trust. Conclusion. The phantom workforce threat is a patient, well-resourced national security operation targeting the private sector. Defeating it requires a unified strategy that combines fortified HR procedures with a resilient zero-trust security architecture. By hardening the human perimeter with rigorous identity verification and implementing a technical framework that continuously verifies every access request, organizations can protect their assets and avoid becoming unwilling accomplices in a global security threat.